data. So I'll pass it to you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. I hope you're enjoying your time here at the Wave Center. It's pretty cool. Everybody hear me? Okay. Thanks for coming to see a presentation on enterprise data and data in general. I've never used a slide that looks like this before, in case you're thinking the whole presentation is going to be like this. I'm pretty good at the written material, but not very creative. So wrapped up the presentation, I asked the AI to create an opening slide for me. And this is what it gave me. So I kind of thought, I can't use that. That doesn't look that professional. But then I thought, you know what? It's kind of funny. I think I'll keep it. Then it dawned on me, did the AI go through my entire presentation and it said, this represents my work. So I love the AI, but sometimes I think it's messing with me. Okay, so we're talking data as a strategic asset. When we move into data strategy for the city is really tapping into the potential of the data to achieve the city's goals and objectives and so on and so forth. When you're talking strategy in general, you're trying to win at something. And so if you're an airline, you may be looking to win at trying to get market share. Your strategy is to come up with the lowest cost, trying to appeal to cost-conscious customers. And that's how you're going to win, to get market share. The city is different. The city focuses more on essential services and equality across the population. And really, the city's win is about providing value. And so this data strategy underpins so many of the other strategies that deliver on that value, those outcomes. And the data there is a critical layer. So when we're talking data strategy, you can see all these items, and there's many more. We're talking governance, we're talking stewardship, privacy, security. All these things are important aspects of the data strategy. Now, you might be asking, well, what's changed, right? Haven't we had strategy all along? We have, and there's been pockets of it, but with the explosion of data and data types and like the things you're seeing here today, you have to have a more targeted data strategy, more encompassing data strategy to be able to handle these volumes of data. The city is also under more pressure than ever to be able to have answers to the questions they're being asked. And when you're looking at some of these questions, you're looking across the whole organization and all this data and how to bring it together to answer those questions. So what's next? Well, the strategy, our approach is to take a minimum viable approach. And really what we're talking about there, you could word it as the need to have versus the nice to have. I tend to focus more on where are we in the organization? What does this area need compared to this area? Where are they in terms of business readiness, data readiness, people readiness? That's how you can target your resources to maximize the value, because like everybody keeps talking about, we don't have infinite resources. So brushstrokes across the whole organization sometimes don't work. You really want to target specific business areas when it's applicable for what they need specifically. So talk data management. Data management could be a whole presentation on its own. Data management for the data strategy is at the core. It's the heart of it. And around data management are a whole bunch of other things that we'll get into, all these components or framework components, whatever you want to call them. Data management, at a high level, what you want to realize is that data management is all the interactions of your data. It is the pipelines, the security, everything from the whole life cycle, from creation to deletion. And one of the important things to understand about data management is that it drives other things, but these other things also feed back to it. So if you look at an example like security, it's going to drive security and how security is run, but changes in the world, changes in how security is handled, feedback and update data management. I love these AI images that I picked. A lot of these are the AI. So moving past data management, data governance. Okay. Data governance is all the things you see here and more. You know, we're talking business processes, budget funding, procurements, architecture. So governance could be cumbersome, but the way to handle governance best and to make it light and agile is to have the right membership for your governance, but also have a group with the right membership and skills that comes together, which this strategy is pulling together, so that the information and the recommendations going to governance are what they need to hear. This is how you get the decisions made quickly. You may not like the decisions, but you'll get them made quickly and you'll get the approvals you need so that your business can move along effectively. Governance does not have to be heavy, and this strategy lays it out so that it's actually quite lightweight. Security, access, privacy, legal, all these great things. So first of all, I'm going to say the strategy is not starting these. These have been in place for a long time and they're well managed. But these security issues and access with all this data we talked about, with everything changing, they're bigger issues than ever, or bigger areas of focus, I should say, not issues than they've ever been. And they do look after policy changes and legislative requirements and the like, and data security acts and so on. But when you're looking at the data, and especially the new data coming in, citizens have a right to expect that their data is being secured, it's being managed properly, it's being ethically used. They have questions such as, where is the data? Who's accessing it? Is it being used for the purpose it was intended? Is somebody else giving access to data? We refer to that as access by proxy or permission by proxy, which we want to avoid. And having a strategy that brings these groups together with the other specialty areas in the organization addresses those concerns, and it helps with the security. Technology plays a big factor into this. The technology out now is able to do more than it ever could. You can have what's referred to as zero trust modeling. Zero trust sounds a bit harsh, but it secures that data layer right from the ground up, right when it's created. And it just gives an extra layer of protection. It can mask data, it can secure data, and identify it before you accidentally release it or share it. It gives a whole set of capabilities and advancements we haven't had before. And that works in conjunction with all these security, access, and privacy and legal. One of the areas I'd really like to talk about quickly is new data. So when you're talking about new data, especially sensitive data, you can't just acquire it. There's a lot to that, right? I guess sometimes it does happen, but you really want to be careful how you're collecting new data. You need to identify it, find out if you're allowed to access it. If you are, do you have it? Where can you access it? How are you going to store it? What are the security requirements, retention? All these things are at play. So you want to be very, very careful, and you need a strategy in place to bring everything together in order to address data from the beginning. And security layers on with the other solutions. You've seen things like analytics, AI, they all have additional security layers. But if you can support those other strategies by instilling security right from the ground up, you're going to be more protected. Data quality. All right. Everybody wants data quality, whether you're talking completeness or accuracy. A lot of it comes down to how it's collected. People need to be able to trust that the data that they're accessing is what they should be accessing. They can trust that it's accurate, accessible, and complete. And so this really ties into the entire data lifecycle from the time it's created until the data is deleted. Quality ties into a lot of how it's collected. And so you want a collection methodology that best describes how the data is going to be collected, ensures the most complete way to collect it, and deals with the systems that are in play. There's a lot of systems out there, a lot of applications that collect data, and you want to have a close relationship with the vendors and how these systems are evolving in their data collection. One thing to be careful with, and you've probably heard of data bias, and data bias is a real thing. And depending on how it's collected, you could have people that reach the wrong decisions or they encounter biased data because it's too narrow of a demographic. They're picking from a skill set because that's all they have to pick from, and so they're working with what they have. The data is old, and it may not reveal the complete picture. So you want to be very careful about data bias, and you want to be able to examine what data you're looking at and see if it is as complete and comprehensive as you need to be. A lesser used term is data harm. And if you haven't heard of data harm is when, if the data is not of high quality, you can reach a conclusion from it. And then from that data, you can reach another conclusion. As you reach these conclusions, they build on one another and they compound. And so you want to be very careful that one wrong conclusion isn't leading to another and leading to another, because that's data harm, and it can steer you absolutely in the wrong direction. This strategy focuses a lot on data rationalization. And if you haven't talked about or heard of data rationalization, it really, I'll use an example. If you're in an organization like ours and many other organizations, you have areas, and totally normal, they've evolved, and they have a system over here and a system over here, and these systems do the same kind of things, and they have similar data. If you can rationalize that data, bring it together, and maybe data here that isn't complete, not complete here, you can bring it together, you can get a more complete picture and higher quality data. The other thing data rationalization does is it leads to authoritative sources of data. So when you're concerned about data not being reliable, you're getting different results depending on what you're running, having authoritative sources of data is critical. And this strategy puts a tremendous amount of focus on the methodology in place for collecting and updating that data. There are data sets out there all over the place, but you want to make sure that you know your source of data and that's being updated appropriately. Data processes, what a big topic that is. Data is tied to process. Your processes, your business processes generate data. If you need to change your data, you have to update your data processes. Data process or business process change is not easy. And this strategy puts forward and builds on the skill sets for helping businesses review the process and modify them to get higher quality and more complete data. One thing I say it quite a bit, and every time I say it, people seem to buy into it, is that organization just knowing what data it has and what it doesn't have is a big deal. And that may sound like it's not, but it is huge just to know what you have and what you don't have. Yes? Oh, sorry. Sorry, folks. Not used to having a mic. What else? Data stewardship and or data literacy and stewardship. So on the Gartner slide here, it outlines driving organizational awareness. You have your vision and you roll in a data literacy program. This strategy rolls in a data literacy program, and it's critical for uplifting your organization to a level of knowledge where they are aware of the ethical considerations around data, they understand the privacy, they understand where the data is, and it opens up so many avenues to being able to access and share that data. Now, a data literacy program can also target or focus on certain individuals that are more deeply into data. It creates a community. It allows them to get the training they need. It's part of organizational change management, which is something else we're building on. Together, data literacy with communications and training fall under organizational change management, and that's absolutely vital for the data to be opened up and shared across the organization. Data stewardship, what an incredible, important role here. And you can see at the bottom it says function as data quality ambassadors, and that's very, very true. Data stewards are the experts. They are the go-to people. They know the data. They know the history of the data. They know who's who. They know its shortcomings, what it's being used for. They know the people. They are true experts. And when you establish them and train them, and you have backups for them, and ensure the continuity, the data steward community, probably one of your best ways to unlock the data for your organization and really tap into the power of it. One area where organizations can fall down is where they don't put the training into this, they don't identify. So what ends up happening is somebody with the knowledge retires, the next person comes in, 6 months in, they find out, I'm the data steward. And what happens is when they ask what they're doing, oh, you're responsible for protecting the data, they retract, and they don't want to get in trouble, they don't want to make mistakes, so they retract. And that's the last thing we want. So we want these people trained, we want them being able to talk, interact with governance, and form that community to really tap into the power of this data. Technology, well, no surprise that technology is a big part of this. We've been using technology for managing data in different ways since there's been data. We have technology for storage, for processing it, for accessing it. We try to use what we currently have. Sometimes technology has been rebranded, but it's really still the same thing in some cases. And we have it and we leverage it because that's where the value is. We don't have to do upskilling or try to replace it when it's not necessary. Now, there is some pretty incredible technology out there, new technology to bring data together, the vast amounts of data, the new types of data, and as was mentioned earlier, to secure the data. So this technology is something we do want to leverage. We want to manage it carefully and securely, but there's so much out there, and it really takes upskilling and investment in it. And this is it. You can see how much is involved in technology. Now, how do you talk technology these days without talking AI? And so I like to call it data for AI and AI for data. So this is, when you're talking data for AI, it comes back to that quality that AI needs, but it also focuses on real time, the need for real time. Bringing that data together, static snapshots are not near as good when the data is coming in. This image is AI's representation of telematics. So as this data is brought together and it's needed for real time, there's also the modeling. AI can work with data, but if you can model it, and there's a lot better people talk about modeling than me, but if you can model the data for AI and other emerging technologies, you're really going to tap into the power. Data, as the AI folks will say, is the lifeblood of AI. It's a bit cliche, but that's how they word it. AI for data. This is my favorite topic. In this example, you can see that there's a scratched up plate. The AI has scanned it, it's gathered information, it's saying that's possibly a motor or a pump, and it has the model number to go and search and find out what extra information on this. Could a person do this? Yes. Could a person do it as fast? No. Or as accurate? No. So I love examples of where AI is able to take what a person can do, but the volume of work is not feasible, and able to act on that volume of work. Another example we have is where you grab data from scanned records, from formal records, from files. The data is, you've grabbed what you wanted at the time, and that makes sense because you don't want to grab everything. But years later, you find out you need another piece of that data. Trying to go through all those records can be very difficult. If you use the AI, you can scan those records on volume, grab the information you need, execute on the work you want to do, and also complete the data. Outcomes, okay. I love talking about outcomes. If you look at the history of data, how it's been managed, you had data first, you were doing system startup, you had your data, and you want more data. Then you got more data, and you had the tools to work with that data. And then you got too much data, and the attitude was, let's clean up that data. And then what that moved into, that didn't work all too well. So then what you moved into from there was, about the mid-2010s, it was, well, let's access that percentage of data that's useful. And even that wasn't too successful. Nowadays, it's about outcomes. It's about quickly running exercises, identifying that most important data you need, avoiding sifting through those massive volumes of data, and finding out these data points that become common in importance across your organization, across your business area, and identifying that and getting to exactly what you need very quickly. While all this is being built, your business, the ones that are knocking on the table to get things, you're able to access the data you're really looking for. And this is the outcome planning. Data-driven stories and decisions. Okay. Data-driven, some people ask, well, what does that really mean? Well, you have your intuition, you have your gut feeling, you have your experience, but you want to back it up with data, and that's data-driven. Whether you're going into a boardroom to pitch an idea or ask for funding, you want to make sure you have the data for data-driven decision-making. And for the stories, data-driven stories across the organization, you need to have all that data unlocked, all that data brought together by a strategy, and then something like the AI over it. Be able to pull all that data together and give you the insights to tell these data-driven stories. Finally, data culture underpins everything. Data culture is great. There's all kinds of data cultures, and that's excellent. What you want your data cultures to have in common is that they all view data as an asset, preferably a strategic asset. If they do, you're going to get the investment that you're looking for, you're going to get the support you need, and you're going to treat it just like anything else, a bridge, a parkway, a train. It is a critical asset and needs to be managed as such. And with that said, I can't think of a better place for data culture to advance than here at the Wave Center. So with that, I'll say thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.